When we imagine ancient Rome, we think of emperors in flowing togas, gladiators clashing in the Colosseum, and perfectly preserved white marble statues. But what if I told you that this clean, heroic image is mostly a fantasy? The real Rome, the city that ruled the known world for centuries, was far stranger, darker, and more fascinating than most people realize. It was a place of astonishing contradictions, where society operated on rules that would feel alien to us today. We're about to peel back the layers of history that your school textbooks conveniently left out. These are real facts about ancient Rome, and almost nobody talks about them. Let's start with a big one: race. Contrary to our modern assumptions, ancient Rome did not discriminate against people based on their skin color. Your appearance didn't define your destiny. What mattered more than anything else was your status. Were you a citizen? Were you free? Were you wealthy? These were the questions that determined your life. You could be a black Roman, an African Roman, serving as a soldier, successful merchant, or even a government official. There were black citizens with all the rights that came with that title. Social class was the ultimate divider, not physical appearance. This simple fact completely changes how we should view Roman society. It wasn't a world obsessed with ethnicity, but one obsessed with hierarchy and power. Now imagine a city like New York or London suddenly emptying out, becoming a shadow of its former self. That's exactly what happened to Rome. At the height of the empire, Rome was a sprawling megacity, home to over 1 million people. It was the vibrant, chaotic heart of a global power. But after the Western Roman Empire collapsed, Rome didn't just disappear, it withered. The population plummeted from that staggering 1 million to barely 20,000 people during the early Middle Ages. The once bustling forums became fields for grazing cattle. Grand temples and basilicas were stripped for their materials or simply crumbled into ruin. It transformed from the world's capital into a near ghost town haunted by the ghosts of its own grandeur. The story of Rome didn't end with the fall of the empire. It just entered its most dramatic chapter of decline. So what did Romans do when they were unhappy with their leaders? We might think of riots or protests, but the common people of Rome had a far more powerful and unusual weapon. They just left. It was called a secessio plebis, or secession of the plebs. When the common citizens felt their rights were being ignored by the elite patricians, they wouldn't storm the Senate. Instead, they would organize a mass exodus, abandoning the city entirely and setting up camp on a nearby hill. Without its workers, soldiers, and consumers, Rome would grind to a halt. The elites, facing economic and social collapse, would be forced to come to the negotiating table and grant concessions. It was a citywide strike, a collective walkout that showed the power truly belonged to the people. Mass protests simply by walking away. You've probably seen the letters SPQR etched on Roman ruins, shields, or even modern manhole covers in Rome. It stands for Senatus, Populus, Romanus, the Senate, and people of Rome. But this isn't just some ancient, forgotten motto. It's a living piece of history. The city of Rome still officially uses SPQR as its emblem today. You can see it on city buses, public notices, and official documents. It's a direct, unbroken link to the ancient republic, a slogan over 2,000 years old that has survived emperors, invasions, popes, and republics. It's a powerful reminder that while the empire fell, the idea of Rome as a union of its government and its people never truly died. It's one of the oldest and most enduring brand logos in human history. Let's talk about daily life. Forget the idea of a happy family gathered around the hearth for a home-cooked meal. For the vast majority of Romans living in crowded apartment blocks called insulae, kitchens were a luxury they didn't have. These buildings were often poorly constructed and highly flammable, making open fires for cooking incredibly dangerous. So, where did everyone eat? On the streets? Ancient Rome had a thriving fast food culture. All over the city, you'd find small storefronts called thermopolia, which were essentially ancient takeout restaurants. They had L-shaped counters with large pots embedded in them, keeping food like stews, cooked meats, and spiced wine warm and ready to serve. People would just walk up, buy a meal, and eat it on the go. It was a world of convenience food, centuries before we invented it. Now, let's get into the less glamorous side of Roman life. Hygiene. Romans are famous for their baths, but their approach to waste was creative. Imagine walking down a Roman street and seeing large clay jars placed at regular intervals. These weren't for decoration, they were public urine collectors. People would relieve themselves in these jars, and once full, their contents were gathered and sold. And who was the biggest buyer? The laundry industry. Fullers, who were ancient launderers, used the ammonia in aged urine as a powerful cleaning agent to bleach togas and remove stubborn stains. It was a key ingredient in their washing process. So yes, the famously white togas of Roman senators were cleaned with pee. In ancient Rome, absolutely nothing was wasted. Entertainment in Rome was a big deal, but the people who provided it were in a strange social position. Actors in ancient Rome could become incredibly famous. They were celebrities, adored by the public with devoted fan followings. But this fame came with a heavy price. Socially, actors were considered infamia, a legal status that placed them on the same level as prostitutes and gladiators. They were despised by the elite, barred from holding political office, and couldn't even make testimony in court in some cases. It was a world where you could be a superstar on stage, but a social outcast the moment you stepped off it. You could have all the fame in the world, but absolutely no respect. It was a paradox that defined the life of a Roman performer. We often associate Roman history with absolute rulers, but their political system had a fascinating safety valve. In times of extreme crisis, like a major war or internal rebellion, the Roman Republic could legally appoint a dictator. This wasn't a rogue general seizing power, it was a constitutional measure. A dictator was granted near total authority to solve the crisis, overriding all other political offices. But here's the crucial part. His term was strictly limited to 6 months, or until the crisis was resolved, whichever came first. It was designed as an emergency tool, a temporary suspension of normal politics to save the state, not to establish permanent one-man rule. The idea that a dictatorship could be a legal, limited, and temporary office is a concept that seems completely alien to us today. For all its laws and legions, power in Rome was a deadly game. Being the most powerful person in the world didn't guarantee your safety. In fact, it practically painted a target on your back. If we look at the Roman emperors who ruled the unified empire, a staggering statistic emerges. More than 60% of them died violently. They were assassinated by their own guards, overthrown in military coups, forced to take their own lives, or executed after being captured in civil wars. The path to the throne was paved with betrayal, and sitting on it was even more treacherous. Power in Rome was never secure. It was a constant, brutal struggle for survival where your closest allies could become your deadliest enemies overnight. So ancient Rome wasn't some idyllic golden age of philosophy and order. It was complex, brutal, advanced, and deeply messily human. It was a society that didn't see race the way we do, whose greatest city became a ghost town, and whose people protested by walking away. A place where urine was a cleaning product and celebrity came without respect. The more we learn about the real Rome, the more we see the strange and surprising reflections of our own world, and the less ancient it all feels. History isn't normal. It never was.